But I want to let you know that there is an actual psychometric test that you can do called HEXACO. And what HEXACO does is actually measures whether you're going to be successful. And in that test, HEXACO, which you can go off and Google it, maybe don't do it while we're talking, maybe do it afterwards. This test, HEXACO, measures a number of dimensions on people's personality. But the one that is of most relevant and interest to me is the one that shows on whether you'll be successful in business. And that comes under conscientiousness. And under the heading conscientiousness, there's actually 4 subheadings. And these 4 factors are going to predict on whether you'll be successful in business, whether you will be a real estate agent that writes $1 million a year and over. And this is really, really interesting to know that we now do have a scientific way, a process, if you like, to establish if you're a principal and you're sitting down with someone, whether this person will be successful. And it has nothing to do with education qualifications or what degrees you've got. And it has nothing to do at what school you went to. And it has nothing to do with the way that you look. And it doesn't have that much to do with your IQ, which is great for many, many people, including me. So let me tell you what those 4 headings are. And they're equal to 25% each in the conscientiousness dimension. So let's start off. Out of 100%, the first 25% on whether you'll be successful or not is a term called diligence. Now, diligence, my friends, is just another word for how disciplined and hardworking you are. So we clearly know that that is a factor of success. Do you have a high work ethic? Have you got the ability to sustain long hours of repetitious work and keep doing it, even though, for instance, when you're prospecting, you're going to be doing long grinds of unsuccessful rejection with some small moments of elation. So diligence and work ethic is a high one. So maybe as I'm going through these 4 factors, you ask yourself, out of 10, what am I like on that factor? So let me be clear, bud. Diligence does not guarantee you success, but the absence of diligence means that it will be unlikely you will be successful. That's the first one. The second one, my friends, is accuracy. Accuracy. You could call it perfectionism if you like. It's your ability to actually double check your work. And I'm not talking about double checking everything, because we know that if you become someone that becomes obsessive compulsive with actually looking and majoring on the minor, it takes you away from majoring on the major. But what I'm talking about, there are certain things in life that you need to be certain of. You can't just be blasé. You need to double check. You need to worry about the detail. Example, if you're a pilot, you've got to make sure that the buttons that you're pressing and the communications that you're having with your co-pilot and with back to base is accurate. So what I'm basically saying here is diligence 25%, accuracy. And in real estate, for example, that might be as simple as making sure that when you actually sign off on an advert, that it's got the exact correct times of the open for inspections, and it's got the exact time of the address, and it's got the exact time of, what time the auction is going to be and where it's going to be held. Or, for instance, if you find it signing up paperwork, that you're actually making sure that people sign in the right spot, or that you're deleting the right clauses, right? So the second one is accuracy. The third one is organization. So it's very, very clear that people that scored high on organization, that they worked in a linear manner, that they didn't have this, addiction to distraction, and they were living a life of chaos. And for some people, that might mean organized chaos because they're not naturally brilliant at it. But the third dimension is organization, you know, how organized. Hey, Nick, how you going? And the last one's an interesting one, number 4. So you've got 75% so far. Diligence 25%, accuracy 25%, and then organisation 25%. And organisation, for many of these people, it might mean simply having yellow stick notes reminding you to do things, but you just didn't use memory as your organisational system. Of course, today in 2022, we've got incredible tools, technology tools that allow us to be more organised than ever. You know, CRM systems like AgentBox, you know, text messaging systems like Podium that allow you to have, you know, lots of touch points with people. So it keeps you in an organised way on your stay in touch strategy with people. And then the last one's an interesting one. This is the one that surprised me, and it was a term called prudence. Prudence. So that's the last 25%. And prudence is another word for the decisions that you make. Are you deliberately mindful in making better decisions? And why is that important? Because with better decisions, you'll take better actions. And with better actions, you'll get better results. So it's actually quite logical that decision making is significantly important in your approach. So how does this all pan out in the world? Example, you could be hardworking, which is called high diligence. You could be, you know, okay, let's come up with a goal. Let's turn around and say, I've got to actually get to Coolangatta Airport, right? Coolangatta Airport. And Coolangatta Airport is up that way, right? Up that way. But hypothetically speaking, let's turn around that I make a decision and a choice to go that way, the opposite way, right? Let's work how that looks like in real life. Number 1, you might be hardworking and diligent. So what happens is you start working your way towards Coolangatta Airport. The only difference is you're going in the wrong direction, but you're doing it in a hard way, right? You're doing it in a hard way. It's pouring down rain and you're walking through that rain because you're hardworking, right? And let's turn around and say that you're, you know, that you're organized, right? So you turn around and say, you know what? For me to actually achieve that, I've got to actually walk at a stride of 80 centimeters per stride. So what you're doing is you're highly organized and you say, I will do 80 centimeter strides in the rain. And I'm just going to, you know, I'm going to sort of just suck it up. And then the last one, accuracy. Sorry, the second last one, accuracy. And then what happens is you turn around and you say, I will actually just follow this line here, 80 centimeters. I'll just keep going. But guess what? You're heading in the wrong direction because you made a stupid decision. You made the wrong choice. And this is what we mean by prudence, my friends. So decision making is super critical. So what does that look like in the world of real estate? How do we actually formalize this psychometric testing in real estate? Well, number 1, if you're hardworking, you got a bigger chance of success. If you're organized, which means that you're using a CRM system and you're using a diary system and you're using reminders that pops up to remind you on what to do and checklists, right? And then turn around and we say accuracy. What if you turned around and said, you know, guess what? You know, I'm not the most accurate person in the world. I'm shit at detail. Hey, I'll outsource that. I'll hire a PA that's going to be doing that sort of stuff for me, right? And then the fourth one is the decision making, which pretty much is what is your system that you're going to use? Now, the good news is we no longer have to guess that in the world of real estate. We clearly know that there is this process that works, that, you know, a certain number of activities, that if you did these activities on a repetitive basis and they were scalable and they were predictable, that you would keep getting results. And, you know, I'm very, very fortunate because through the real estate gym, I've been able to rip off and duplicate the stuff that works from all the franchise groups, Ray White, Rain and Horn, McGrath's, and then all the independents. And I take all the content and I edit it. I make it better. I put my spin on it. And then I put it up in the real estate gym that allows people, whether they're looking for a letterbox drop, they're looking for you know, a letter that they can send out to a vendor. By the way, there's a bloody great letterbox drop in that real estate gym that Paul Biller dropped. If you're not a